So our review day 2, if we had to call it something, I'd probably call it like polynomials. So last class was monomials, so single terms. I would say these are multiple terms, so polynomials. And I would say this we saw a little bit more in geometry than some of these other types of problems. Being able to combine like terms and do distributive property, we kind of saw that here and there in geometry, I think. But at the same time, I don't want to take it for granted that you remember everything. If you are working ahead at all, I'm going to put a little star by number 4. Just be careful on that one. But we definitely talked about that one this year. So what we want to do with these is we want to distribute, combine like terms where we can, and see what we can like kind of simplify. So it's asking us to simplify, and that means just writing it in a more simple way. No parentheses, trying to combine as much as we can. So like at number 1, what's going to be your first step? We're going to distribute. And what are we distributing? We're distributing like that -1 in. So we're going to distribute that in. So nothing happens to the -2n. The 9 becomes a -9, and the 10 is going to become a positive 10n. And then we just combine our like terms. So the first and last term are like. You get to put them together. And girls, stop talking please. And when we combine them, we don't change the variables at all. We just combine the numbers in the front. So -2 plus 10 is 8n. And then we just write -9. So like on a problem like this, we can't simplify that any further. But we also don't know what n is because they don't have this equaling anything. So we just stop there. So this is just simplified. Where number 2 is 2 sets of distribution. And then again, it just becomes a combined like terms problem. So I distributed that in. The biggest thing is being careful on signs on this one. I like to do the x's first here, so I'm going to put 90 and 6 together. And then I'm going to put a -10 and a -60. Now technically it's not wrong. If you have -70 plus 96x, that's fine. It's just more often than not we'll write it with the x term first. Our next problem, we use either FOIL or box method. And I don't have a preference which one you use. I'll show both, just because I know I taught both when we learned this in algebra. So this would be box method versus FOIL. I do first, so I multiply those two together. So I'm multiplying in this first step. So that's 48p to the second. Then I'm going to do outer. So that's 16p. I'm going to do inner. That's -12p. And then I'll do last, which is -4. And our last step is we just combine the like terms that we have. And so it's those middle 2 terms, or these 2 terms in that little square there. So 16 minus 12 is going to be 4p. And so that's our final simplified version of this. Like I said, number 4, I know we did this year. This came up a little bit in our circle chapter. We did this as a warm-up question, and then, like I said, it showed up a little bit when we were doing our tangent lines of circles. So, does anyone remember what the thing we don't want to forget to do in this one is? So this is not like what we just did yesterday. So we can't distribute in. What do we have to do instead? We have to make 2 of them, and that's the common mistake here. Otherwise, you're going to miss that middle term. And I think I might have shown you guys a little meme, like, don't kill puppies. maybe?
She just said yeah.
Yeah,
just said that.
it's the puppy killing theorem.
They got it.
And so if you distributed this in, that's what we don't want to do. So we don't want to do that. And what happens if you distribute that in, you miss the important middle terms. And you might say that's not important, but anyone who's a middle child thinks they're important. So don't forget about them.
You just say that because you're the youngest.
I always say I'm sort of a middle child. I have a half sister, so like, I mean, like, so my dad had, you know, a second marriage, but like, but so I'm sort of a middle child, and I'm sort of the youngest, so I don't know what that makes me. But.
You're 3/4 of the middle child.
Yeah, I don't know. So first order in our last, so again, if you did where you distributed in, you probably were missing the 42x in the middle. So again, kind of important. It's not like it's just meaningless there. So we have to make sure we include that, okay? All right, so our next one here, again, like number 1, we're just distributing this negative in. So it's just going to change those signs.
Wow, that's crazy.
So this will become a plus. So it just changes those signs, and then we're just going to combine the like terms. So I have a 1a to the third and a 4a to the third, so that's 5a to the third. And then negative 2 minus 3 is a negative 5. And then finally, with our number 6 here, all we're doing here is just distributing in, but this one kind of brings us back to what we just did yesterday. So this kind of talks about our exponent rules, because we're multiplying, and there's exponents here that we have to deal with. So I'm multiplying 5x to the second times 4x to the second. So when I multiply, there's different rules than adding, obviously. So 5 times 4 is 20, but x to the second and x to the second is going to be x to the 4th. Because again, we're multiplying here. 5 times negative 3 is negative 15. Can you stop that, please? X to the second and x to the first is x to the third. And then 5x to the second times 2 would just be 10x to the second. So kind of brings in some of those exponent rules that we talked about last class that allows us to think about that a little bit as we're doing this. So the backside, I almost didn't put the solving equations on there because I feel like we've solved a lot of equations this year with all of our different equations that pop up with geometry. But I still put it on here, just thought it wouldn't hurt to review it. And then I did put a little bit of exponent rules on there. That was before I knew that we might need to review them anyhow. So basically our homework is going to look almost exactly like this note sheet. So we're going to finish up this backside, and then you'll have homework that goes with this. All right, so to solve our linear equations, here's the difference with the front side, is now this has an equal sign. So now we want to get the variables together, and we want to solve for them. So we want to isolate the variable. But since these are on the same side of the equal sign, I get to combine them together the way they are. So 5 and 4 would be 9x. And like I said, I feel like we've done a lot of solving equations this year, and hopefully you've gotten a lot better at them, which I think most of you have. Whereas like at the start of the year, like this was also a struggle on top of the geometry piece of this. So I'm going to move that over. And then I'm going to divide. Whereas the next problem's a little bit different because it has variables on each side of the equal sign. So we're going to distribute. Guys, can you guys stop, please? Then we can combine some like terms. So I put that -6 and -8 together. This is where solving equations a lot of times throw students off, is when they're together on the same side, we just push them together. When they're on opposite sides of the equal sign, then we have to undo what's happening. So I want to move the 2x over, so I'm going to subtract it over to the other side. And again, I'm not trying to insult your intelligence. I know that most of you guys are pretty good at these now. Like I said, I almost took it off here, but I figured it wouldn't take us long to talk about it. Okay. And mine's missing the review question, so I'm gonna have to write it. Okay. So what we're finishing up with is just a couple of review questions with exponent rules. Now, neither of these have any negative exponents, but I'll try to kind of start putting some of those into some other problems here. All right, so this is kind of taking us back to our exponent rules here. So again, kind of switching gears here and thinking about, now I'm multiplying, and so now we can multiply and kind of combine things as we go. Now, there's parentheses here, but it's not like I'm doing FOIL. I'm just putting things together that go together. So this is all being multiplied, so I'm just multiplying 5 times -3. Then I'm looking at a to the third and a to the first. Can you guys stop, please? So we have a to the fourth. We have b to the fourth and b to the second, so that's just going to be b to the sixth. Ryan, you need to focus. You're not, though. So we're going to distribute in here. We multiply those exponents. You guys, stop the noise. I've told you guys that before in here. Like, honestly, I don't know how to tell you guys that your behavior isn't okay. It needs to stop.
I didn't do it.
So 4 to the second is 16. Oops, I did that wrong. That should be a 6 there. And so again, this didn't have any negative exponents. It didn't have any division, but it still does remind us of some of our exponent rules that we need to review. Okay? So I'm going to give you guys the rest of the time for homework.